ladies and gentlemen, the next United States Heavyweight Champion, Ravishing Rick Rude!
There's nothing in my dreams, just some ugly memories. Kiss me like the ocean breeze.
Please welcome the newest members of the Dangerous Alliance, Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko.
Real be my lover, I will shiver and sing.
The world's greatest athlete and newest member of the Dangerous Alliance, the world's TV champion, Stunning Steve Austin.
Nothing left alive but a pair of glassy eyes. Raise my feelings one more time.
Please welcome one of Sting's best friends and a little stinger himself, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful Bobby Eaton. It's not an army, it's not a stable, and it's not a family. It's an alliance of businessmen who will bring WCW down to its knees.
North-South Connection, welcome to episode number 4 of the 7 Months of Danger. I am your host, Sean Kidd, and tonight we have probably our most, I guess, we built to this point of, this is like a really breaking moment, core point of the Dangerous Alliance formation is this show tonight, and we are watching Clash of the Champions 17. We are joined by a special guest tonight, and I will get to him in one moment, but before we move on, Matt, I'll go to my other co-host. So Madusa, how you doing? I almost flubbed that too, Matt. So go ahead. How you doing, Matt?
Thank you for calling me your special guest, Sean. That really is very nice of you. I'm here every episode, just so you know.
Yeah, you're not my special guest. We have a special guest.
How dare you?
Regular guest. I apologize.
Well, you're leading me down the wrong path, but good to be here. Good to be here.
All right. Scott Shiflett, how are you tonight?
Doing great. Got my tux here because we're at the Clash of the Champions.
Shift and a tux.
It almost sounded like you called him shit instead of shit.
Shift. Scott Shift. Okay. Anyway, Logan Crossland, how are you tonight? God damn it.
Doing great. That made me so happy. So good start.
This is going great.
All right, we're off to a hot start. Now let me introduce our actual special guest, who's not Madusa.
How dare you?
He is a host of the Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast here on the North-South feed. I have asked him to join us on all the clashes and pay-per-views on this 20-episode journey. Jacob Williams, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling very dangerous. Excited to do it because I love this era. Not just the Dangerous Alliance stuff, but I have a soft spot for this era of WCW. I wasn't around at the time, but I've since rewatched it. It was actually my one of my first COVID watches was watching through WCW, specifically this era, because I never really watched it, deep dived it. So a special place in my heart for helping me out through that tough time. So ready to get to it.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, this is a really, really not talked about era, which is really cool, which is we love about doing this podcast. So before we get to that, so Jake, real quick. So you said you were watching this. Is that the first time you watched this show was during that COVID era? Or did you watch it prior to that?
So, I think before that, I'd seen the main points. I mean, obviously, I watched War Games, because that's just such a famous match. But I had never really watched the full saga and watched through the Saturday nights and saw the whole thing build. You always hear about it because the Dangerous Alliance is kind of this beloved faction and maybe not the hottest time for WCW. And so I'd seen the main points, but then I kind of deep dove it, I guess you would say. Kind of in the same way you guys are doing for this pod. So it's cool that y'all have decided to do pretty much that as a podcast. I like the idea of I also like the idea of the kind of the limited series, covering one thing, unlike, doing a podcast that you probably will never realistically finish like me. So
I could probably relate to that on another podcast that I do actually. So I agree. That's the reason why I like doing this. Is you have a firm end date, you cover the base. It is kind of a different thing, so I do enjoy that. All right, Matt. When, and again, I know most of you weren't around when this first aired. or maybe you were, but when did you actually first watch this show, Matt?
So one of the first things I did when I got, at the time, the network. Remember the network and how great that was? One of the first things I did was actually go through and watch all the clashes in order. So I had seen this once before, and one match in particular I've seen more than that from this show. But as far as the full show, I had seen it at least once before. I think maybe just once before prior to this.
Okay, Ship.
Yeah, so as I mentioned last episode, like Sting's my favorite wrestler, and growing up, I had this videotape called Deadly Venom: The Best of Sting.
Okay.
And it was a basically like how WCW, like it was like just like clips of like certain moments. Like I guess I don't know where I got it from. I think I still have it if I look hard enough. But it showed what happened with what we see with Sting in the final box and the Sting and Rude match. So like I've seen this bunch because I used to just put that in. I also had WCW Bone Crushers, which is like their best tag teams at the time. I wish someone could hunt that down and put it on YouTube. But no, it was so I'm familiar with that part, and I'd never seen the rest of the card until now, actually.
Wow. Schiff, I remember none of those videos ever coming out whatsoever. So that's odd to me. But okay, that's great. I guess I didn't realize at the time WCW actually put out videos like that. So but
yeah, I think they did it. And I want to say they did one for the bad guys too, but I definitely remember like the Bone Crushers one, which was for the tag team, and Deadly Venom: The Best of Sting.
Huh, that's good. You learn something new every day, including myself at being an old man. Logan, what did you think?
Yeah, I went like Matt when the network first came out. I kind of went through all the old WCW pay-per-views, or really all of the WCW pay-per-views, and then I watched the clashes as well. So that was probably the first time I saw this show, and I've probably watched it another time since, but yeah, probably about twice is about the amount of times I've seen this one.
All right, as for me, I guess I'm the lone wolf. I watched it live on TBS when it came on, and it was a really big feel for this match. Like, the main reason was obviously for the Rude and Sting stuff, which we're going to talk about in depth tonight, but also because for me, the tag team title match had been built really well with what was supposed to be Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes versus the Enforcers. They did a really nice job setting that up at Havoc, but we'll see how that plays out tonight. So we'll talk about all that. So we are this is November 19th, 1991. We are at the Savannah Civic Center in Savannah, Georgia. Jake and Logan in particularly, do you realize that we stayed at the hotel right next to where this building was? Did you realize that when we were doing our little group trip a couple years ago? Did you realize that?
I did not realize that, no.
Yes, we actually drove right, but we actually went by it a couple times, but literally the hotel we stayed at was right next to this building. There were 6,922 fans in attendance, and the show drew a 4.3 rating. And if you put that into context in today's numbers, that's really a great number. So that's where we're at. So we are going. I'm going to run down the rest of the card with you. I'm not going to cover the Dangerous Alliance members matches, but I do want to talk about the other matches on this card and kind of ask each of you to give me a brief rundown of your thoughts on the other matches on the show. Just don't talk about the Dangerous Alliance matches. So first up, we had Big Josh defeating Thomas Rich in a lumberjack match. So Doink the Clown basically taking on Tommy Rich. We have Tom Zink, the Z-Man, defeating the future Razor Ramon, the Diamond Stud, in a match that lasted only 1 minute and 24 seconds. You'll love this one because honestly, these guys, if you've watched all their shows they've been on, did not have a terrible feud. Cactus Jack defeated Van Hammer, which is probably Van Hammer's defining moment as far as a wrestling star because Cactus Jack actually did something with him. You had Brian Pillman defeat Johnny B. Bad in a match for the WCW Light Heavyweight title. And the main event of this card was Lex Luger in one of his final appearances, at least from a title defense standpoint, before the pay-per-view we'll talk about in December. He defeated Rick Steiner at 11 minutes and 30 seconds with the WCW World Heavyweight title on the line. So, Matt, I will go to you first. Without covering off on the Dangerous Alliance matches, what did you think of the other matches on the card and even the main event when you watched it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Cactus Jack and Van Hammer is actually shockingly decent, given that it's a fucking Van Hammer match, because most of the time he's useless. But The rest of the card, I mean, the bulk of the good stuff on this card, I think we're going to talk about one, like I said, one match in particular we are going to talk about. And the main event is a Lex Luger match from 1991, a late 1991, I should say, which means it sucks. So,
For me, like, I remember, I haven't gone back. I did not watch this whole show. I just literally watched. But the last time I watched, or when I was younger and I watched this show, I actually like I was a big Rick Steiner guy, so I actually did not mind the match that much. But I'm sure if I went back now, I'd probably hate it. But back then,
I mean, look, obviously I'm exaggerating. It's not good, but it's not awful. It's just very like middling.
Gotcha. All right, Schiff, what do you think about the other stuff on the show?
In the Big Josh match, we actually see potentially the implosion of the York Foundation.
Oh no, not that.
Terry Taylor grabbed Thomas Rich's leg that led to the pin.
Let's not lose the York Foundation.
A moment of silence for the York Foundation, please.
Got to force them out. Also, we saw in the Flying Brian Johnny B. Bad match, which was actually, I enjoyed that. Teddy Long cost Johnny B. Bad the match, and Johnny B. Bad decked him, so a potential face turn for Johnny B. Bad.
Oh joy!
Not gonna lot. Well, I enjoyed Johnny B. Bad in 1994, so I'll have to go back and see what's up with that. I didn't watch the Luger match. I'm sorry, I just got to the end. It was like
you're better off.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't really miss anything except maybe the last. I guess that was his last major world title defense before Super Brawl 2, I think, right, Souza?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as TV. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as TV. Yep. And Logan, your thoughts on the other stuff on this match, and then we'll go to Jake.
Yeah, just pulling from memory. I didn't watch any of the other matches. I'm kind of like you, Sean. I watched the stuff that we had for the pod and kind of got out of there. But like Schiff said, he was talking about how the implosion of the York Foundation may be coming. But yeah, and then the Zinc Stud match is pretty much just background effect for Sting getting rushed to the hospital. So that match only lasts like a minute and a half. So there's not much there. Cactus and Van Hammer, I remember not being too bad, considering the two guys in there. Jack's obviously good, but Van Hammer's kind of a slug for the most part. When you get Brian Pillman in like a light heavyweight style match, it's always a pretty good showing. He can even pull up people like Johnny B. Bad at this point, I would say, because Johnny B. Bad hadn't quite found his niche yet at this point. So, but Pillman's always great. And then the main event's kind of, Luger's kind of checked out at this point. I don't know if his heart's really in it. He was really kind of looking forward to going to the WWF at this point. So I don't know that he's like fully into it, but Steiner tried his best to, make everything look good in that match, but it's just kind of middling, kind of like Matt said. So not bad, but not great on any of the stuff that surrounded the Dangerous Alliance on this one.
All right. Gotcha. And Jake, what do you think about the rest of the show?
Yeah, I think if you isolate the rest of the card, the non-Dangerous Alliance stuff, you really start to see why they started to move the focus like they do on this show. I mean, as we're going to get into, it is the real crux of the show, even more than the world title, really. Because, I mean, by the end of this, I mean, the world title match almost feels like an afterthought after everything that happens with, Rude and everything. And it just, I think it was smart of them, too, to start to build around to really put so much focus on the Dangerous Alliance, because I think it's a real weird era for the world title after Flair leaves, like you guys have covered. And, Luger's there, but he's kind of checked out. He's sort of a lame duck champion. I don't know if they really had anybody that they wanted to slot in quite yet. I mean, you could always go back to Sting or whatever. But so I think it was kind of shrewd of them to kind of create this angle where you have so many guys involved that you could fill up the card, because like we're talking about, they're in this weird point where the Dangerous Alliance starts to get in this kind of cool, gritty kind of storyline, but they still have these weird gimmicks like Big Josh, who's like a lumberjack, who I don't mind in ring, but it's just they're still in these weird occupational gimmicks like Van Hammer and Big Josh and stuff. So it's really kind of like a saving grace for them in this era, because it's weird. I don't know what they would have done with the rest of the card if they hadn't moved towards this Dangerous Alliance angle, because a lot of the stuff, like you guys have said, just feels kind of like a mishmash of Van Hammer and Cactus Jack. Just kind of thrown shit together and see what you can do. So.
Yeah, honestly, for me, the Van Hammer Cactus Jack feud that they have in this time frame is probably the greatest thing that Van Hammer was ever a part of, because after that, he goes south. But all right, so we'll jump right into it. So the great thing about this show is not only do we get to cover the Dangerous Alliance, but because of their opponents, we get to cover off on a lot of 92 WCW wrestling, which is a kind of an underrated thing here that we get to do. We'll talk about occupational gimmicks, probably the worst one that most people on the show that our hosts have shit on. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we open up, the show opens, and JR mentions, not sure if Barry Windham will be a tag match tonight or not, or if it will be a mystery partner, but they do say Barry is here, so they give us a little tease to the tag title match we're going to see a little bit later. So we're going to jump right into our first match, and it is, at this point, the polarizing Firebreaker Chip, speaking of occupational gimmicks that makes no sense, versus beautiful Bobby Eaton. And on our last show, we covered a syndicated match that they had as part of a 6-man where Bobby supposedly accidentally punched Chip. And so I think this kind of led into this match we have tonight, which probably nobody really knew about to begin with, because probably nobody even watched that match on the syndicated show. But this is actually set up, which I guess for me gives it an additional context. Not that it'll make the match any better in that. But anyway, let's see. We come out of commercial and both are in the ring. There's no intros whatsoever. And again, Logan, I made the comment on here. What exactly? So now he refers to the announcers refer to the Patriots as the WCW Special Forces. So not only are they Patriots, they're also Special Forces. So I really have no idea what we're doing with this fucking gimmick. I basically
don't know.
No, I made the notice. I said WCW Special Forces. Is that their inside lingo for jobber? That's what I had written down. JR seemed very enthralled with the very muscular Chip. So much like he was enthralled with the very girthy Pia News on our last episode, he is very enthralled with the muscular Chip. And then I said, when you do a second rope leapfrog, you are not supposed to botch and cover it by saying Chip is taking chances, which is what the announcers do. There's a lot of Chip headlocks. Chip I think he did at one point have a nice top rope clothesline. Bobby in return hit a nice backbreaker on a corner charge for Chip, and then he did a nice also lifting backbreaker as well. There were a few false pins by Chip. Bobby kicked out on a roll-up, and Chip was delayed and looked like he threw himself into the turnbuckle into a Bobby belly-to-belly suplex for 3. There's not much to talk about in this. This is more of a Bobby exhibition, but Firebreaker Chip is absolute just shit in this match. I actually went a half a star on this. I am with you guys in terms of where you guys feel about Firebreaker Chip, but Bobby Eaton, kind of makes, what do we call it? Chicken salad out of chicken shit every time he's in a match, but this match is awful. Matt, I will go to you first.
God, I fucking hate Firebreaker Chip so much. He's the fucking worst. He's just so bad. He does nothing well. Why is he here? We as a collective have seen more Firebreaker Chip matches over the course of this podcast than any man needs to watch, and it's all your fault, Sean. I'll never forgive you for this.
I latch on to stuff like that. It's kind of like what I do with Wahoo on Crack a Roll.
God fucking damn it.
I do it with Chip. So.
If there's a Firebreaker Chip match out there that happened during the Dangerous Alliance era, you're going to find it and we're going to fucking watch it. So thanks for that. Oh, this is just no good. He just stinks, and it's all Firebreaker Chip's fault because Bobby Eaton tried his hardest to pull this slug into something watchable, and he just couldn't fucking do it. He's awful. Yeah, this was 5 minutes I'm never getting back. Half a star.
Yeah, my favorite part of this match, like I said, is when Bobby kicked out of that roll-up and Chip literally, there was literally a delay for him to run to the turnbuckle and throw himself back. Just awful. Chip, what'd you think?
Yeah, I actually asked Susan to create that as a gift for me, which you did. Thank you so much.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But no, it was a bad match. Like there's no going about that. But Bobby, in our second episode, I doubted Bobby, but he was, able to make this passable. I did like how there's a nice clothesline from him, follow up with the solid backbreaker from Bobby. And then he hits like a back suplex and it's over. I just went a star and a half. We were in and out, so it wasn't like this was like a 13-minute PN News tag team match I had to sit through in the last episode. Like I said, I just went a star and a half.
All right. Jake, I'll go to you next because Logan's our official Loganomics rating keeper, so I'll go to you next.
Yeah, Chip actually gets booed, I think, when he comes out, which is probably not good for who's supposed to be touted as like this American hero, like a fireman. Like they're booing a fireman.
He's in the Special Forces, WCW Special Forces, Jake.
Right. Yeah. Notably anti-military Savannah, Georgia, in the deep South. Anti-military, booing the firemen. So yeah, the crowd is even not with him. Like it's just like such a styles clash of like a guy who's really good at wrestling, and a guy who can't wrestle. Like Chip's such a stiff. Like he keeps going. Like I almost feel like it like normally you would think like a guy like Bobby, you put him in there with somebody who kind of sucks and maybe he'll bring him up. But I feel like Bobby's trying to work like his normal Bobby style and like Chip just can't hang at all. Like Bobby's so smooth and then Chip is such a stiff. Like so like at one point like Bobby goes for this backbreaker and like Chip's trying to sell it and he just kind of crumbles like awkwardly onto the ground after the backbreaker. It's just like everything he does is so awkward that it just stands out so much worse when the guy he's facing is has a reputation of being one of like the smoothest guys in wrestling. So not great. I thought the finish was real flat, just kind of Bobby winning with a back suplex, like not a lot of pomp and circumstance there. Yeah, just not good. Bobby was not able to bring much out of Chip. And the only other thing I noted in this, did you guys catch like Tony talking about there was some kind of charity or something that they were like collecting money for? I don't remember what it was, but at one point Tony just said he's like, you could bring your coins or whatever to donate to this.
I do remember that. I didn't make a note of it, but yes, I totally remember that. Yes.
He's like, bring your coins or whatever, like coupons for the Sunday paper or whatever you want to donate to this.
I think that was for the Starcade, like.
Yeah, it was something for Starcade.
Something with like milk or something. I don't know.
Yes, that is correct. All right, Jake, what was your score? What was your rating on that match?
I'll give it a star, which is probably generous, but usually I have to like really hate something for it to be less than a star. So 1 star for me.
All right, Logan, close it out. What'd you think?
Yeah, I went a star as well. Chip comes out and his gear reminds me. I called him Dollar Tree Ricky Steamboat on this one. He looked like he was wearing something that Ricky Steamboat would wear. So I thought he's definitely not even great value. He's definitely Dollar Tree. So that was the first thing I noticed. Bobby took way too much offense at the beginning of this match. He should have taken none, pretty much. The only thing I really love about this match is how stiff Bobby's strikes are, and he does a like a Uranagi backbreaker at one point that I thought was really cool. He actually does that in a later match as well, so I really like that move. And I'm really glad that he won, obviously, but I hate that I didn't get to see the Alabama Jam in this one, so that would always give it a little extra bump. But yeah, I had to go 1 because I can't give Bobby anything below 1, so I had to give them that at least.
All right, gotcha. So yeah, not the finest start here with a future member of the Alliance taking on Firebreaker Chip, but we're gonna move on. And by the way, from a Patriot standpoint, we do have our next episode, guys. We have 2 more Patriots matches, but the good news is,
oh, fuck off.
No. The good news is we don't see them after next episode. We're done.
Oh, thank God.
All right, so just hang in there and let's enjoy the hate we have for them at least for 1 more episode after this one. So
that came out to a 0.9, by the way.
All right, 0.9. Congratulations. All right, that's still not our lowest rated match ever.
That seems wrong.
Yes, it seems very wrong. All right, so then we go to a Starcade 91 promo, and I remember at the time I was really pumped because it seemed cool and different in the matchup possibilities, and the promo actually set it up very well. As we all know, we will see how it plays out when we get to it. At minimal, I would have thought they could have said the winner would get a world title shot or some kind of award, but they really didn't clarify what it was. But the way they had it set up, like you never seen anything like it. Like heel could be with face could be with heel. The setup of it was really, really great in theory. We'll talk about the execution of that when we get to that point. But Matt, I'll go to you. Any thoughts on this initial Starcade 91 promo? Like if you were to look at it in the promo that it was, not knowing what it's going to be, and the execution, what would have you thought in watching that?
I mean, it's kind of tough because, spoiler, I fucking hate Battle Bowl. But watching the promo in a vacuum, I mean, I guess I could see where you're coming from, and that it seems interesting that faces and heels could team up with one another, and like you said, we'll see in practice how it goes, but we'll see when we get there.
All right. So Schiff, what about you? Any thoughts? I mean, I'll go to all of you to see if you have any thoughts. If you don't, that's fine.
Going back to what you said about maybe the winner getting a world title opportunity, WWE hadn't even added that part in. So, Dusty was going to steal the idea for, put his little spin on a Royal Rumble. type match, but WWE hadn't even done the winner gets a world title shot. So I enjoy it. Like you can call me whatever you want, but I love Battle Ball. It's like one of my favorite WCW pay-per-views. I do I've done fantasy football drafts, and I have that on in the background just to listen to while I do it. So, I love it. Like the first one holds a special spot in my heart.
All right. Well, we'll get to talk about it in a couple of episodes. I'm the same way with Starrcade 91. I can see why Matt absolutely hates it, so I'm sure I'll enjoy hearing about that when we get to it. Jake, what about you? Your initial thoughts, just from a promo standpoint and what it sets up and what it looks like it could be, not necessarily what it ends up being. But
I think it does look like a cool, because I think if you see that promo, you think of like what would be the best possible version of it. Mm-hmm. And I think it does seem like it'd be a cool concept if they like intricately booked it. It could kind of have that I always think of it with Survivor Series, because I feel like that's supposed to be sort of the appeal. Like, look at all these random guys like tag teaming and being put together, but they kind of make it too random, and there's not really a whole lot. It just, I don't know. A lot of the battle balls always come off as very forgettable to me. Like, they could have not happened and it wouldn't have mattered. Like, especially the tag portions of it. So that's kind of, it's like almost so random that it almost feels like it doesn't matter. It's kind of like what I generally think of with Battle Ball.
All right. And Logan, what about you?
Yeah, I've always thought the idea of the concept was cool. Just seeing random people team up, but it in execution, it always seemed to fall a little bit short. I do enjoy the shows for the most part, but I do understand at the same time that a lot of people don't. We did Battle Bowl '93 on Chicken Salad, and we actually all shockingly liked it because it's one of Callum's favorite shows. But yeah, I think all of us ended up actually liking it a lot more than we thought we would. So I don't hate it, but it's probably not the best in execution most of the time.
Yeah, I feel like for me, and we'll move on, Battle Bowl 92 is my favorite because it kind of mixes it up a little bit in terms of the theme. And, there's, speaking of banger tag team matches, there's a freaking, who would have thought Steamboat and Shane Douglas could have a banger tag team match, but they take on Wyndham and Pillman in that. That's one of my almost underrated favorite tag team matches of all time. So, Matt, in theory, I get what you're saying in terms of the execution of the first one. We'll talk about it, but I do think there's some good things in it. So maybe we'll be able to get you onto the other side. Probably doubtful, but we'll try.
Highly unlikely, I'll say.
All right, so we'll transition to our next event at this Clash, which is definitely something. So it is the Sting Mystery Box reveal. And if you listen to our last episode, we had quite the take on the Sting. Anyway, we'll get to that. Sting, I don't know what else to say. We're going to get to it. Sting comes out to receive his final gift box. This has been an ongoing theme in WCW. Sting getting these mystery boxes that he wants, and we're about to find out who he is. He just stands there and says, "Show me a box." Then he says, "It's a party." We discover that it's Madusa, that it's getting carried out to Egyptian music to Sting by what looked like a bunch of male porn stars in one of those Egyptian king carriage type gimmicks. A single sparkler goes off, which cracked me up because literally it's like a sparkler that you buy at a fireworks stand.
Are we in the impact zone?
Yes. So Madusa gets on her hands and knees and crawls to Sting, looking very much like the Sherry Ultimate Warrior segment from the Rumble 91. Very similar. Sting looks ready to take her home, saying, "We are going to go," regardless of any set affiliation with Rude, and stupidly allows Madusa to turn his back on the carriage, where Sting looks like the absolute stupidest freaking cuck wrestler ever by turning his back. Lex Luger runs in from the carriage and clips Sting's bad knee, revealing himself to be the mysterious Gift Scorpion. The lesson is learned. Sting likes the women, and he's stupid. That's the lesson we've learned tonight. I really do like the long-term booking thought to plant where they go to Super Brawl 2. So Sting's about to go into this big match with Rude, but they cement him in terms of, oh, wow, he's going to be challenging Luger for the world title. So I thought that was kind of cool. Sting is loaded into ambulance and going to the famous medical facility. And while they're doing that, they interrupt the 5-star Zinc stud match. I do like JR bringing up the injury from February 90 and how at the same time, 18-year-old Sean thought the same thing. So there is some cool stuff in this. Seeing Sting get cucked by a woman and being seduced by a woman crawling up and him getting all excited and sexually excited like he did on our last episode was disturbing because he is the Stinger, and he only thinks of the young children. But unfortunately, we discover he does not. Matt, I would go to you first on this whole segment.
First of all, I was very disappointed that it wasn't Gwyneth Paltrow's severed head in the box. That's number one.
Oh, Matt. Anyway, go ahead. Logan will say that he'll be disappointed it wasn't Madusa's, but we'll let it go.
I'm not that mean.
Sting is a fucking idiot.
He really is.
Madusa just said last week that she wasn't interested, and magically, days later, she's all of a sudden gonna change her mind. Like, I mean, I get in theory that baby faces kind of, as a whole, are dumb. But this is like next level stupid. Like, you got Stinger here thinking with his scorpion tail between his legs, for God's sake. Like, what are we doing? She literally just said on the last episode, I'm not interested. You're never going to hit me with that stinger, or whatever the fuck she said. And I actually forgot that it was Luger who came out and clipped Sting's knee. For some reason, I remembered it being Rude was the one who did it and clipped it. So that kind of took me aback, and it actually made me wonder if like Luger was supposed to be a part of the alliance if he wasn't, halfway out the door by this point. So I'm curious if that was like the original plan, if Luger was going to be involved, maybe not in the alliance, but like somehow loosely involved. But as for a segment, I mean, it was fine. You had all the histrionics and the theatrics of WCW that you usually get with something like this. Oiled men in black Speedos bringing out not so much a box, but it was more like a wagon, a covered wagon.
The Egyptian bullshit carriage or whatever.
Right.
It is,
It was like the Oregon Trail wagon, but just doctored up in Egypt things. So yeah, I mean, it was perfectly fine, but it really did make Sting look like a fucking moron.
It does, but it also sets up kind of the storyline of the evening, which plays out pretty cool. Schiff, what'd you think of this?
I mean, him trying to get with Madusa, not the greatest, but I enjoyed Luger beating the hell out of him. And like you said, Sean, he attacks the knee, and that's what JR brings up. It's a perfect callback there. So it's like, and one thing I love, I bring this up in Crock and Roll, but for those who may not listen, I love how the baby faces then come out and like try to help Sting. That's one thing that WCW and NWA always did well, was like they made it seem like, when I was growing up, I just assumed all the baby faces were friends. Like Sting was friends with the Steiners and Brian Pillman, not as much Firebreaker Chip. They all hated him. They didn't let him. They made him be Steven Glansberg instead of sit by himself eating lunch.
Oh my God! Wow.
They love fire.
Yeah.
They don't want fires put out.
But no, I just enjoyed. That was a hell of a scene, and like you said, Sean, it sets the stage not only for tonight, but for 3 months down the road. Which WCW was never the greatest for long-term storytelling, and I think this is the longest you'll get with them, is maybe 3 months, because as we've seen on previous episodes, they were positioning Ron Simmons as a tag team partner for Barry Windham and not Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah, it's kind of like the signs are starting to be there that at least at this era of WCW, they're trying to start you still have some really stupid wrestlers, but from a booking standpoint, it seems like they're trying to get their shit together a little bit coming out of the whole Flair fiasco. So it seems like they're on this path. And I think like this segment right here kind of gives that PK. We're going to do long-term booking, and we're going to do a storyline throughout this show. And it's kind of like WCW at this time didn't do this kind of stuff. And it kind of started at Halloween Havoc, right out of the gate when they did the whole Dustin segment, and Barry Windham with his broken hand. And then they're really getting into the part of where they're doing long-term storytelling, which might make this era probably one of my favorites because of that. Logan, what did you think?
I'm going to turn into Hulk Hogan here for a second.
All right.
Medusa as a sex gift. That doesn't work for me, brother. Yeah, just
much hatred for Madusa, Logan.
We've talked about Madusa a lot and my feelings towards her, but on previous episodes, so I won't dive too deep into it. But yeah, Sting is an absolute idiot in this segment. I kind of do like that it breaks him off from, once this thing with Rude is done. Obviously, you would think that Sting's going to take care of him later tonight in that match, but I feel like it does a good job of breaking him off to kind of go after Luger after this. But yeah, and I was kind of taken aback when they said medical facility, because I thought that was always a Vince thing. So hearing the WCW announcers say that as well is kind of strange. But yeah,
it definitely appears to be a JR thing more than anything. So I wonder if like he is the one that brings it to WWF.
Interesting
point.
All right, Jake.
Yeah, seeing he was blinded by the Doocy. He was. I wonder if he was like. Maybe it's because like even though she told him she wasn't into him, he was like, who could resist this tank ass that I have? Like, who could look at me, my gigantic ass, and resist this? So maybe he thought Madusa was after that. But yeah, I thought this was cool. I mean, you get the cool, like the corny theatrics of it, which is fine. I'm like, oh, I like that it was Luger because it just it just adds another layer to it, because even though he's facing Rude, Luger's involved, so it kind of sets the stage for that. And I'm always a sucker for any of these angles that last the whole show, especially if it's like people I actually care about, which they do here. So that's always fun. Sean, I know you must have loved the foot because that's how she first came out. They like zoomed in on the foot.
I mean, back then I didn't have that issue, but yeah, now it is.
This is where it started.
I see.
Yeah. Back then it wasn't that bad. Yeah.
Well, that we could do a whole other podcast just on that topic. Jesus.
And I had and Madusa. JR says that Madusa was just subterfuge, which is such a JR W word to use. Like trying to use this, like, well, she was just subterfuge the entire time. Just very JR. I dug that.
So good segment to kind of set off on where this show is going to go. So very highly entertaining, if nothing else, to set it up. So our next match, our second match of the night, it is for the WCW TV title. It is Stunning Steve Austin, who is with Lady Blossom, taking on another podcast favorite, PN News. Logan, I am going to tell you right now, I feel about Blossom the same way you do about Madusa. I think she looks like a hot mess that would go to a Tears for Fears concert backstage. And basically, she'd go in it for the shag and come out looking like she went through a car wash. That's what she looks like to me.
You sound like you have experience in this field.
No, I'm talking about the era. Like she looks awful. She's like all made up. Her hair's a freaking mess. She looks like she's through the rat house. I just can't stand her.
The rat house.
And by the way,
would you say that everyone wants to rule the world?
God damn it.
Yeah. By the way, this is also her final appearance. So we will not see Lady Blossom again after tonight. So you do unfortunately do have to deal with Madusa for the long term. I do not have to deal with this woman who fucked Chris Adams and then decided to cheat on him and go to Steve Austin. Freaking whore. Anyway, we're going to move on. Austin.
My goodness.
Austin attacks before the bell, but gets hit with an avalanche on the floor. News whips him into the railing and tosses him back in. Austin goes for a slam, but falls under the weight. A suplex puts Austin into the ropes. JR says Sting has been taken to a medical facility. Again, not a hospital. A belly-to-belly puts Austin near the ropes. Again, Lady Blossom puts Austin's foot on the ropes. News chases Lady Blossom away. Austin hits an over-the-top rope. Dives over the top rope, then throws him back into the ring. News is stunned and charges into the corner and right into an Austin pin with his foot on the ropes. It wasn't terrible, but it was pretty standard. As always, Austin's height's still amazing because I think Schiff brought up that on a couple episodes ago. I went 1.5, but it was mostly for Austin. There wasn't really too much for this match, but I guess a solid win at the time for Stunning Steve Austin and Lady Blossom. We bid you adieu. Matt, I will go to you first. What did you think of this match?
Right there with you, 1.5 for me. This could have been a lot worse given who was involved with the PN News.
That seems to be a thing with PN News matches on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's actually good and we're just assholes. I'm starting to wonder.
I think there's a good. Well, we already know the second part of that. I don't know if he's good, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there wasn't a ton to this match. It's like 5 minutes, barely 5 minutes long, I think. The one big thing that I noticed was Austin at one point dives over the top and News just sells it comically by running across the ringside area into the rail. Just an absurd sell. Like, you are a large human. There's no way that Austin doing that would send you 20 feet into a guardrail. Come on. But really not much here. So 1.5 stars.
I don't know what you mean. A Tom Zink super kick to Vader's chest and him fleeking flying all over the place. Why?
That is a great point. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, big man must sell. Schiff, what'd you think?
This may shock people, but I went a little bit higher than everyone. I went 2 stars on this.
I'm not shocked by that, actually.
Um,
I'm not. No, not for a bad thing, because I could see
Oh,
why you would.
I'm just messing.
It was the way you said it.
It's just how you said it.
No, I could totally see why you would go 2. I wasn't trying to be dickhead Sean. I was being serious for a minute.
Austin was actually making news look like a real brute, like a super heavyweight, to prepare him for Vader in a couple weeks. PN News had a nice suplex where he like suplexed Austin on the ropes, which I thought was pretty neat, and then he hit a belly to belly suplex as well. And like Sousa said, like when he jumped on PN News and sent him flying, like that was a little ridiculous. And then we couldn't even give Austin the clean pin. He has to get the pin with the foot on the ropes. Like I said, I went 2 stars. It was a fun match. Definitely, he's the TV champ, so you got to by hook or by crook.
Well, it's good to see him finally get a pinfall win after we watched him job a bunch of times prior. But Jake, what did you think of this?
Look, I actually went a touch higher than Schiff. I went 2.25. I thought Austin was super good in this match, especially for being like still pretty young. Like, I felt like he was he was bumping all over the place. It was very like Mr. Perfect to me. Like, he turned, like you guys said, this could have been real boring. Like, I feel like if you throw somebody more mediocre in here, it would just be like PN News. They would stay in the ring. You'd kind of throw them around and be real slow. But like Austin brings a lot of movement to it, and I thought his like facials were great, like begging off, like all of his body language, like looking desperate. Like I felt he added some drama to this match that probably wouldn't have been there otherwise, just through his mannerisms. And I thought it was awesome stuff. I thought PN News, he's kind of a goof, but I liked his belly to belly at one point. But to me, pretty much the 2 of the 2.25 was for Austin. Like, I just thought he was so excellent in this match, because he kind of got the crowd involved too. Like when he would take a big bump and like start ping ponging all over, the crowd kind of got into it. Like he actually got the crowd cheering for PN News. So I don't know. I thought it was like, I could see in this. It's always fun to go back and see him, and just see how much he got it even from the very beginning. And like that's what I was thinking in this match. Like any other person who's only been wrestling for a few years would just go in there and have the most basic match with PN News. But here's Austin like bumping like he's Mr. Perfect, trying to make this feel like it's a big deal. And like you guys said, like making PN News look actually intimidating when in reality he's just kind of like a fat dude. So 2.25. Yeah, Austin's awesome.
I love the comparison to Mr. Perfect because I totally get what you're saying in that. So that's a really good analogy. And when's the last time you saw Steve Austin do an over-the-top rope dive? And you know what I mean? The stuff you wouldn't, like what he became and the wrestler he became, that's where he's considered like one of the greatest of all time. This era of Austin is very different. And I think the Mr. Perfect comparison is pretty cool. I like what you said.
Right. Like, and so like you could easily go in and be like, oh, it's PN News. But like it's so Austin to go like, look, I'm on the Clash, I'm on national TV. I don't care if I'm facing this fat dude. I'm going to go in there and like bust my ass for 5 minutes and get it over.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep. I don't disagree with you. Logan, what do you think?
Yeah, I get where Jake's coming from. I went 1.5 like you and Matt did. I thought Lady Blossom was much more modestly dressed this time, so maybe WCW liked her better when her tits were out in the previous episode. So
she still looked like hot garbage, man. She's hot garbage.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. But I like in our previous episode, just again too much offense from the big man. I don't want to see PN News beat up Steve Austin. Steve Austin did a hell of a job making his offense, PN News' offense, look effective, I will say. So Austin did a really good job in this one, but that can only carry the rating so far for me. The diving attack that Austin does was awesome, and the sell job was 5 stars by PN, tumbling into the railing and all that. I don't like that Austin had to cheat to win, but it had me saying no baby, no baby, no. So like I said, I went 1.5. So
all right. So what does that bring it to, Logan?
1.75.
All right. We're not doing so hot on the matches, but we'll keep going. So we go to Jim Ross, who is calling Eric Bischoff at the medical facility. And the cameraman, actually, you can audibly hear him yell at Tony to get his head out of the way so they can see JR on the phone. And that was fantastic. And then you can clearly hear that they're piping in this phone call into the arena. And at first, the connection absolutely sucks. It was terrible. Screen then shows a Bischoff picture with a red dot where Savannah Medical Facility is for effect. And it's like, okay, so is this what we're supposed to believe, that he's really there because you have this on the dot that he's there?
The
Bischoff
Weather Channel map.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Bischoff has no real news, but an orderly came out and gave him a thumbs up. And then Eric says, I have never seen so much adrenaline and fire like we saw in Sting. And it was just like the worst delivery ever. Like, his acting ability is absolute garbage. Matt, what did you think of this segment?
Eric, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Eric? Eric, I can't hear you. You're going to speak into the receiver there, son.
Tony, get your head down.
Tony, move your fat ass head. You're in my shot, you prick. Not much here. Bischoff's acting ability is quite terrible. They did say, however, that Sting's knees swelled up 3 times the normal size, which is probably bad. That's
like they probably measured it like with tape.
Right, and they took a knee from a cadaver and put that knee up against Sting's knee and said, "Well, this is at least 3 times." Good Lord! Like Jake, I am a sucker for a show long storyline like this. So it's a good way to advance that storyline. So it was fine, but also kind of absurd at the same time with the Bischoff phoning in, and just there was a lot happening here for such a small segment. But yeah,
you can't say it wasn't entertaining. I was thoroughly entertained.
Oh, no, for sure.
All right, Scott, your boy was full of adrenaline and fire, according to Bischoff. How'd you feel about this?
Like I agree with Susan, Jake. I guess it's the episodic nature we watch wrestling in, and that's why we enjoy these show long storylines. And so it's like, oh, we got to see, it keeps us glued to the television. And I love Bischoff said an orderly came out and gave him a thumbs up, and he's like, oh, it could be get the hell out of here, you asshole. But he's giving a thumbs up to the security guard
it's not even an orderly. It's not even a doctor. It's like an orderly. It's
right.
It's like you can't say doctor, like you can't say medical facility. It's an orderly.
Yeah, so it was an enjoyable segment. And is it this one? Oh, no, it's the next one where it's my favorite line.
Oh, it gets better. It definitely gets better from here.
So we'll get to that. But yeah, just an enjoyable segment. And actually, as I was watching this clash until I tapped out after the Sting Rude match, it was actually making this enjoyable and feel like, oh, we got to see what happens next. So if you're sitting down and actually watch this instead of watching it bits and pieces, I think you would enjoy it more.
So as somebody who watched it live and didn't pick apart the nuances of some of the ridiculousness, it was absolutely made you want to stay and see what happened. It still does, even watching it today, but it absolutely 100% made you want to watch and see what happened. So I, too, enjoy that episodic nature. Jake, what did you think?
Yeah, maybe. Do you think Sting's balls had swollen 3 sizes because of Madusa teasing him when she came out the box? Yeah, it's has that nice kind of hokey WCW charm where the production value is just not on the level of the WWF. It sounded like the fucking Watergate tapes when he's talking to him oh gosh, can you tell us what's going on? It's just ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, it kept the thing going, but it had that nice WCW charm.
Absolutely. Logan, what did you think?
Yeah, it's hokey and ridiculous, absolutely. And Bischoff basically says everything and nothing at the same time. He says all the stuff and nothing of it comes through, and it just doesn't make any sense because he kind of says something and then backtracks. So it's all over the place. But yeah, pretty comical. Probably not in the way that they intended, but I enjoyed it from a comedic standpoint.
Hey, if anything, you could say the matches are bad, but I don't think we've had any shortage of pure entertainment in the 4 episodes that we have done this podcast. I am 100%. Thoroughly entertained.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll move on to our next segment. We get a recap of the Enforcers smashing Barry Windham's hand at Halloween Havoc in the car door, and we transition to our WC Tag Team title match, which is supposed to be the Enforcers versus Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham. So Barry Windham. Barry Windham and Dustin come out. He takes himself out of the match, saying he had reconstructive surgery on his hand. Finally, after seeing many, many matches with him that were pre-taped Halloween Havoc, we finally see his hand bandaged up. So they're selling the injury. So instead, a guy in a dragon outfit walks down the ramp, and immediately at that given time, obviously where you go to. I said, gee, wonder who this is. At the time, I thought maybe it was Great Muta, because I also realized how stereotyped wrestling was when we were late dragons to Japanese wrestlers in 1991, which Tony even brings up, which, again, was a trope. I also like the Japanese perceived wrestler is coming out to Barry's classic rock, Great Value rock anthem. So basically, they have this Japanese wrestler coming out to Barry's, and it just doesn't make any sense. So Wyndham and Rhodes yank off the Dragon Head to reveal Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, which I could tell you at the time was a fucking cool-ass moment, because the last time I saw Steamboat was at SummerSlam 91 in that six-man match. And I saw it not coming at all, so it was a kind of a cool moment. Arn and Larry's selling of this is an all-timer, especially Arn's not Ricky Steamboat. Like, it's just really, really great. The crowd goes nuts, and again, this is a great, great surprise for us to see. Also note, this is the official debut of the new WCW version of the tag team titles that JR points out. And for me, a little of my childhood died, because the NWA tag team titles that I knew and loved, they're gone. And we have what I consider a very ugly version of the WCW tag team titles. They're new, they're fresh, they're brand new here. The Enforcers yank Steamboat into the corner, but that proves to be a mistake as Ricky goes nuts with shots. There's an atomic drop to Arn. Dustin comes in and the faces clean house. So the crowd just absolutely goes insane. Arn's "What the hell is happening?" look is absolutely incredible. He also said he's just a man line is an all-timer. Faces work Larry's arm. That typical Larry sells like death. As announcers officially, this is also a big thing. They officially deem Larry wanted to be called the Crusher for the first time, which becomes his nickname in the alliance. Larry suckers Ricky into the corner, and suckers Ricky into chasing him and draws him right into Arn Anderson. The Enforcers work over Steamboat, and I love the double teaming with Steamboat fighting like his life depended on it. Like, this was just such an amazing sell from him, an amazing double team. Steamboat atomic drops Arn, but Arn's head knocks him on the bridge of the nose. Arn recovers and goes up, but Steamboat gets his feet up. Arn yells for Zbyszko to cut off the tag, but it's too late. Dustin is lit when he comes in. He bulldogs Arn and tags Ricky in one motion. Then Ricky goes up top for a body press for the win, and the tag team belt's at 14.5. Guys, this is legit probably one of the greatest tag team matches of all time, and literally one of the best you'll ever see. A great mystery partner payoff, crazy crowd, incredible announcing with JR being the forefront, fantastic heel work. Face and Peril is so good here, and legit, again, probably up there in one of my top 2 or 3 tag team matches I have ever seen in my life. I'm not sure it gets any better. I actually went the full 5 stars on this. Matt, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing match. You get the great moment with Steamboat coming out to the massive pop, and much to your dismay, as has been historically documented, that you hate Ricky Steamboat like poison there, Sean. But
no, this is different. I hate
see.
Steamboat. I hate Steamboat for a reason, and I love this era of Steamboat in WCW.
See, well, there you go. We're again. This is a learning
growing.
Experience. We're growing as humans. We're learning things about each other. We're going to start singing "Kumbaya" any minute.
I enjoy this Steamboat more than '89 Steamboat. So yes, I am giving you some. I'm giving you a scoop right here. So yes.
Yeah, it's just. You get a molten hot start to this with all 4 guys in the ring. The crowd is red hot. You got Arn sweating like he's working in a factory in the middle of July. It's just, everybody in this match is unbelievable. The selling super on point.
Even Larry's awesome in this too.
Even Larry, who is mostly useless, as we've documented, he was fantastic during this. I mean, like you said, Sean, this is absolutely one of the best tag matches of all time. The pace is insane. They don't really let up for the entire 15 minutes. And the other thing I noticed too, because I feel like we've all kind of seen this match a lot, the thing I noticed watching it this time was that it felt to me like Steamboat and Rhodes had been teaming with each other for years. And to my knowledge, this was like really the first time they had really teamed with one another. And they immediately had that chemistry in how well they worked with one another. So yeah, just everybody is on point for this. This is a fantastic match. So I didn't go the full 5 on it, but I went damn close. I went 4.5.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? I also think this is another plug for how great Dustin Rhodes has gotten in a short amount of time as well. So, Schiff, I'll go to you next. What'd you think?
Yeah, this was a banger. And I lost my mind watching this match. Like because we had seen with Barry's hand, so I was unsure like what they were gonna do. Then they brought out the dragon. I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Um, and it was just awesome. Tony has a great line here. He said, "If anyone can slow down momentum, it's the mouth of Larry Sabisco,"
Amen.
which I was just amazing. And I mentioned it last episode, the tag from Arn to Larry while in the sunset flip. He does it again here, and it's just like a work of art. And like, then we have like another tag, and like the crowd lost their mind when they got the hot tag to Dustin and the ref didn't see it, which is what I love in like it feels like these 80 and 90s like tag team matches, more in NWA and WCW, where they didn't see it. And then, oh my God, we get a crossbody from the top rope, and we got new champs. I went 4 3/4. Maybe 5 more minutes, and I would have been added the whole 5, but it's as close as we can get.
All right, Jake.
Yeah, I love this match. Like, they do the classic tag formula a bit, but like it never drags. Like, they never kind of fall into it as like a crutch. They just execute it. Like the beginning, like opening face, like shine sequence is so awesome. Like, and they kind of build the story of that. Like they know that Steamboat is like juiced up, so they kind of want to single out Dustin, knowing that he's the younger guy, and that's kind of the storyline that they play. But like the Steamboat and Dustin kind of are able to fight him off, but then finally they get on top. The heat sequence when the Enforcers do take over is so good, just like dissecting them, cutting off every time they go for a tag, which is like one of my like. I'm trying to think of teams. Like I always remember the Enforcers, and that's what I always remember about them is how good they're like cutting off the tag stuff. It's just so good. I think that's an Arn thing too. I just think Arn is so good at that in any team he's in. And like cutting off all the hope spots. Like there's at one point Steamboat goes for like a body scissors, and Arn like twists him right into a Boston Crab. And like every time they cut off the hope spot, you could just feel the crowd building more and more, like waiting, like they're ready to explode. And it finally crescendos when Steamboat hits that crossbody. They win it. It's just great storytelling. They pull the crowd in. Like I said, the face shine sequence and then the following like heat sequence by the heels are just both like two of the best you're going to see in this sort of tag match. It never lost my interest throughout the whole thing, and it's not super long. Like it never drags. It's only about like a 20-minute match.
It's actually 14. It's 14 minutes and 50 seconds.
Right. See, that's what I mean. It's not long. My only negative, I'd go 5 stars in the match, but I thought the not really in the match, but Steamboat's dragon thing I thought was fucking stupid.
That was dumb.
Yeah, like I think they would have been better off either just letting him come out or like maybe put his robe over his head where they might know who it is and let him. But all this with like, oh, so it's got to be someone from Japan with the stupid like he looked like he's in the Chinese New Year parade.
Someone from the
with the Barry Windham music.
Someone from the Orient, Jake.
The Orient. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, don't do the stupid dragon suit, whatever mask thing, and this would be an absolutely perfect segment. But the match is pretty much perfect. 5 stars.
I will tell you though, being in that time frame, watching it live, that was a big deal in how they did that. Like to us today, we're like, God, that's fucking stupid. Back then, as wrestling fans, we used to eat that stupid shit up. So that's my only
fucking pinata on his head.
Yeah,
so
he's got a pinata on his head. And
right.
And it's great that I immediately thought it was the Great Muta in my mind because you hadn't seen Muta for a while. So I'm like, oh, it's a Great Muta. This is great. I never expected Steamboat, so that was great. Logan, how about you?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I'm with Matt. I went 4.5. I didn't quite go perfect like some of y'all did. As stupid as him walking down the rampway with the dragon, the big thing over him, I did think that when he actually revealed himself to be Steamboat, that was really well done. Obviously Larry and Arn just go ballistic and crazy, like they could have never expected that was going to be the person that showed up. And it kind of spills into the pre-match and the early going of the match. It's just chaos as the heels are totally taken off guard by the fact that Steamboat was the mystery partner and they didn't have to face Barry. So they were expecting Barry. They thought Barry would be there and he'd be an easy target with his injury. But I love Larry's selling yell, as we always talk about. He's so vocal throughout the match. I think it's just absolutely hilarious. This match is maybe 3 of my favorite WCW wrestlers, and then Larry. So
How dare you?
But I love Rhodes, Steamboat, and Arn. They're three of my favorite WCW guys, for sure. I love Larry in his own way, but I mean in ring wise, as I say that, of course. Just a really phenomenal match, wrestled by all the guys. Y'all all said, Larry even pulls his weight in this one, but just great stuff. And it like you said, Sean, this really just shows how far Dustin's come in just 9-10 months. He's really great in this match, and Steamboat's awesome as always, as well as Arn. So
yeah,
great stuff. 4.5.
So what's the total?
4.75. That one's gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we're going to be hard pressed to find a match with Larry that we find him to be better than he is in this one. I mean, we'll always have the vocalness, but from a wrestling standpoint, I don't really know if we'll get better Larry. I mean, maybe the tag team match in Super Brawl '92. I'll have to revisit that. But this one, I don't know.
There's one that he's in, but it's not. The match isn't great because of him.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Right.
Seems to be
That's
the theme. Seems to be the theme. So
right.
With Larry Zbyszko, I love that Larry's kind of found his place for us on this show. It's just
Larry Z is very much along for the ride.
Yes, be loud, be arrogant, and just be stupid and keep us entertained.
He's a passenger in a group full of drivers, basically.
Just keep yelling at all the fat women and the rednecks in the crowd. You'll have our
all right, so let me deviate for a minute. So I went 5 stars. So if I were to ask you, I'm going to go to Matt. Matt, based on the fact that you didn't make this 5 stars, what would be a tag team match you would say is 5 stars?
I knew you were going to put me on.
I have to. No, I'm going to do it to everybody. I'm going to do it to everybody. I'm going to do it to everybody.
Oh.
Well, not me. I gave it 5, so I'm off of those points.
I'm not going to make you guys change your rating.
No, look, I'm not changing my rating.
I'm not going to make you.
I'm not going to do like I did famously on the YouTube Roulette show that one time.
Well, you see, that was more for effect on YouTube Roulette than it was you actually meaning it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably like Revival, Gargano, and Ciampa, or DIY and the Revival. That's probably a 5-star tag match to me. There was just a point in the middle where Arn had a lot of rest holds on, so that was where it lost me just a little bit, but everything else around it was amazing.
So the two that immediately come to mind as being probably closest to the 5 for me, well, one actually is Luger and Wyndham versus Arn and Tully from the first Clash.
Well, yeah, that, and we're gonna cover that. That would be the one I would thought of. So I agree.
That one is probably 5.
I agree with you on that one. Yep.
Yeah. That's the one that immediately comes to mind. And honestly, from the same show, Midnight's Fantastics is close to probably beneath that one, but it's real close.
I agree. I was going to go back to the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnights at Wrestle War 90.
Yeah, you know what? I love that match.
Yeah, so there are definitely other ones that are really there. Schiff, how about you? And I like that how Logan went to like current day NXT. I assume Schiff's probably going to be similar. It's okay.
I like Sting and Luger versus the Steiners.
Yep. That's
I could see that because of the feel and what it is. I could totally see that. Yep.
And also current day Bucks versus Pentagon and Ray Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Spot Fest. Logan.
Yeah, I mean, I said DIY versus the Revival. That's the one that
I actually do love that match quite a bit.
I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but that's the one that came to mind. But like Schiff was talking about, that Luger, Sting, and the Steiner match is really good. So I don't know if it will quite be 5, but it'd be close.
I swear to God, I'm so glad you didn't say WrestleMania ladder match, because I probably would have shit my pants. So thank you.
I mean, I still can.
No, nope, too late. Jake.
TLC at SummerSlam, 5 stars.
Yeah. We're gonna edit that part out. Jake.
No, we're not.
But I gave this one 5, so don't I get a homework pass?
Oh, I thought you said 4. I thought you said 4.25. You did say 5?
No, I went the full
okay.
Monty. I love this match.
Jake,
I love this
Jake
match.
It's the total pass. But in all honesty, though, I think the ones you guys did bring up, with the exception of Schiff's Young Bucks bullshit, I agree.
Your opinion sucks, Chef, is what he's saying.
I agree with everything else you said. I just don't agree with the Young Bucks. And yeah, anyway. But thank you for that, because I really needed to get that wrapped around in my head, because I thought this match, again, I do get your point, though. There are 2 or 3 other matches that I could say might be better than this, but it's close. But anyway, let's move on.
I mean, I gave it 4 3/4, so it was very close.
Yeah, it should have been a 5. Moving on, we're going to go to our next segment. Paulie Dangerously says he feels bad for Sting and ashamed to have met Lex Luger and Madusa. So I love that he's shitting on Madusa and Lex Luger, saying he's ashamed to be a prick. But the contract on page 12 says if Sting can't wrestle, Rude will win the U.S. title by forfeit. He says he says he's sorry for Sting. He had nothing to do with it. I think this is a tremendous angle and promo here. Then we go back to Eric Bischoff, who rejoins us from the medical facility and tells Sting about the loophole in the contract, and utter chaos ensues in the background. He tells Sting that he forfeits the match if he doesn't show up. Sting flips out on the phone and steals, where's the van, as he calls it, but it is an ambulance to head back to the arena. And I popped big time because I love the fact that they don't call it an ambulance and they can't call it a hospital. They call it medical facility and a van. So part of me is like, did Vince McMahon book this show? Because this is like, the terminology is fantastic. Which makes me to believe that JR, I think someone mentioned something about this. JR is the one that took the language back to the WWF in '93, because that's really where they went all in on medical facility and stuff like that. But I will go to you first. So this sets up our last match. Matt, I'll go to you first on the Paul Heyman promo and then the Sting stealing the ambulance gimmick.
Stop me if you've heard this before. Paul E. Dangerously is great on the microphone. He could sell ice to Eskimos. Like, he's just fantastic. I love that they're treating the contract like it's a real thing. Paul E. obviously went through that contract with a fine-toothed comb to know that on page 12 it says that he must show up, and if he doesn't, the title goes to Rude. It was a little bit easier to get Bischoff on the phone this time, I'll say. Still didn't sound great. It still sounded like Bischoff was holding the phone upside down, but it did.
I know, but his delivery on, Sting, if you don't show up, the loophole says you forfeit. Like, it was just the worst acting of all time, and then Sting has to react to it.
Yeah, and then you hear Sting in the background. What? What do you mean?
Where's the van?
Where's the van? And this is the other thing too. So last episode, we've determined that Sting wanted to fuck Madusa quite a lot, and then on this episode, he steals a fucking ambulance. Great role model for children here is the Stinger.
Who knew Sting was the early version of Stone Cold Steve Austin? Who knew?
Right.
Look, man, he does this, he does that.
Amazing. Chef, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. And Susan, I actually have it written down what it is completely. Page 12, section 6, article 6. Like,
unbelievable.
It was just amazing. And he goes, I've had my lawyers look at it, and then like we have Eric on the phone, and he's like, he has stolen a van. And then when we see Sting again, like, he's riding shoddy. So someone was like, nah, fam. But just a hell of a segment, and this feels like the true main event of the show. Like they spoke about Luger and Steiner, but you can already start to see, like, they're like, oh, this didn't really work with Luger. We're gonna start making, because the U.S. title feels more important than the World Heavyweight title right now, in my opinion.
100%. You don't see Luger in angles like this. They're definitely setting up Luger being gone for the next few months with this. 100%. You gonna say something, Logan?
I didn't pipe up.
Oh, I thought I heard someone. All right, Logan, then you go next.
Yeah, I love the Paulie finding the loophole and it being, page 16, section 6 or whatever Schiff just said. But yeah, Bischoff still sounds like he's, like Matt said, holding the phone upside down. And you can hear Sting in the background saying, what? I'll be there no matter whether I'm hurt or not. So just to kind of, Sting kind of still comes off as a dumbass because, shouldn't wrestle hurt, but obviously you don't want to be a coward and give up your title at the same time. But yeah, just another funny for the wrong reason kind of segment here.
All right, Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I just like that it gets across as we move closer towards this whole angle really coming into its own. Like, it just establishes that Paul, like, has this ability to, like, pull strings backstage and get opportunities for his guys, which is going to come in the, it's going to be a bigger deal as they go down the line and they kind of solidify themselves. So I kind of like that aspect of it, kind of setting that all into motion.
All right, so that's going to take us into our final part of this episode. So it's U.S. title, Sting versus Rick Rude. So Rude entrance music, I think I talked about it on the last episode, really, really bad and piped in garbage. I love the U.S. title design on Rude's trunks. Like we talked about on this episode, on the last episode, he had Sting. He has the U.S. title on this. This really, like, they really make this U.S. title like feel like the most important title in the entire company, and they do such a good job with it. Paul E gets on the mic and talks about what a tragedy Sting is for letting all his fans down. He basically calls Sting stupid and a demigod and does not care about the kids, which popped me big time. Sting pulls up outside just in time and returns to the ring before counted out. The crowd is absolutely nuclear. Just bonkers. Announcers also amp up the energy on their commentary. Rude charges and immediately gets press slammed on the ramp, which was just incredible. Sting knees buckles, but he makes it back in the ring. He catches Rude coming off the top, and then clotheslines him over the top. Rude finally gets his shit together and wraps Sting's leg around the post. Sting gets out of the Rude Awakening and hits Rude back against the ropes. Rude bounces off and accidentally clips Sting's knees as he plays. So basically, he hits his knees. Then dangerously from behind nails Sting with his cell phone. But surprisingly, I thought that was going to be it at the time. But Sting kicks out at 2. Sting goes after dangerously though, allowing Rude to clip him and get the pin at 4 minutes. Later on, day after the match, dangerously disheveled admits to a conspiracy and setting Sting up. It was a conspiracy by him, Rude, Madusa, and Luger. And then he spits on Jim Herd in the committee, and WCW has to answer to Rude from this point on. He says the Dangerous Alliance caused the shots. Rude says walls come crumbling down. All the hopes and prayers for the little Stingers have died. And all he has to say is Sting is nice guys finish last. Madusa and Paul laugh as Rude kisses at the camera with the U.S. title draped around the shoulder. And that closes this out. This whole thing from start to finish was just classic booking. I do think Sting looks a little stupid in it yet again for turning his back on Rude and getting his knee clipped. But this was like way more angle the match, but the show-wide storytelling and the end result was one of the next probably best post-Crockett NWA, WCW to this day you'll ever see in terms of storytelling. All in on this whole thing, the storyline, the match, I'm going about 3.5 due to the short match, but great execution that felt fresh and a new hope for 91 WCW at this point in time. And like I said earlier, made the U.S. title feel bigger than the world title as Luger's reign was kind of an ass at this point, and doesn't get much better. So, Matt, I will go to you first. I thought this was a hell of a way to close this out.
Yeah, super fun storyline driven match. Again, it's like 5 minutes long. So, I mean, you weren't going to get the best of work rate here, but it makes sense given the show long angle that's been happening here. So, and it's just great. I love the pop that Sting gets when he limps in the arena and then, Rude meeting him on the ramp. It's just the crowd is red hot for this. And like we've been saying really throughout the entire show, this feels like the main event feud in WCW right now, and Luger Steiner is kind of an afterthought just because Luger at this point already has 1 foot out the door. So yeah, just great stuff. I love Rude targeting the knee, makes sense given that Luger did the same thing earlier, and I love the extra added fuck you with him pinning Sting while holding the tights, even though Sting really had no chance of kicking out because of the beating he's taken. I thought that was just a little extra douchebaggery from Rude. That was fantastic. So yeah, super fun storyline driven match. So I went 3 stars for the match.
Awesome. Schiff?
I know I'm probably going to overrate this. I don't give a shit. I love this. As I mentioned before, I've seen this multiple times due to that Best of Sting VHS. I love the ambulance showing up, Sting hobbling there. Like we said, the crowd just absolute bonkers. JR's in like supercell mode right now as well. I love how like Rude is working the leg as well, and like Sting actually fought out of the Rude Awakening, which I thought was pretty good. Like it makes you want to see them when like Sting is quote unquote healthy. Then with Rude hitting the knee. Could have done without Paulie and the cell phone, but it makes sense. I just would have had Rude like just work the leg the whole time. And I love, like Susan said, like holding the tights on the roll up. And now we have a new U.S. champ. And Rude only came into this promotion like a month and a half ago, and he's already the U.S. champ. Seems to be the lead heel. Is just, and like he's gonna hurt our feelings. And the promo Paulie cuts with which earlier he was like, I was not working with Madusa or Luger, and he's like, yes, it was a conspiracy with everyone involved. And like I love how he spit on Hurd because knowing Paul Heyman and stuff I've read about, he legit did hate Hurd, Jim Hurd. So just all around a great time. Counting like the storyline for going into this, I'm going 4.
It's okay. I went 3.5.
I love it. And the Sting and Rude feud, I know Sting's WCW feuds, they just think of Flair. Most people think of Flair and Vader. He had some pretty good matches with Rude as well.
Yeah, you know what? Interesting. Like the promo where Rude basically says, hopes and prayers that little stingers have died. And all I used to say is Sting is nice guys finish last. It kind of reminded me of thinking about Hogan when he lost to Yokozuna and how it killed Hulkamania. I kind of relate it back to this. Like, it's like the day Sting died kind of situation. Maybe not as severe as Hogan because Sting's not, I mean, not that he's not over, but he wasn't Hogan. But kind of reminded me of that when Yokozuna got the upset pin on Hogan. So, Logan, what did you think of this?
I thought it was the whole show storyline is absolutely amazing. The entrance running in from the ambulance is great, as the other guys have said. I thought Rude not immediately going for the knee, attacking the knee was pretty dumb. I thought he immediately should have like kicked at it or punched at it or something like that. But I think Sting was running off adrenaline, so he really got a lot of the offense at the beginning. Crowd's going absolutely nuts for Sting the whole time. JR actually refers to Rude as the rated R challenger or the R-rated challenger. So early Edge reference there by JR. But I thought that was a funny little nickname he threw in there. The phone shot was pretty nasty, and I wasn't a huge fan of the finish, just the clip leg into the roll up. I would have liked to see the Rude Awakening be hit. But the promo afterwards is crazy batshit. Paul Heyman, he's just yelling and talking about how this is the beginning of the takeover. He kind of shits on Hurd as y'all have said. But yeah, I mean, I thought the promo was really great, even though Paulie went a little bit wild, but this was all the plan. Luger was always involved. Madusa was always involved. So he kind of backtracks on what he said earlier. But whole package together, I'd go 3.5.
3.5. Okay, Jake, close it out.
Yeah, it's really well done. They invested the time early and they showed a build to it. And because it's Sting, like there is a little bit of the crowd like thinking, he's going to run out the ambulance and maybe he will survive this, or maybe we'll at least get like a schmoz where he won't lose the title or something. And like you guys said, they kind of build this whole thing that Sting's running on adrenaline, and like Rude's sort of defensive at the beginning because he knows if he could just like last a little bit, Sting's only going to have so much in the tank because of the injury. So he just survives just a few minutes and then goes after the knee and puts him away. So it's really well done for the story that they were building. And like Schiff said, it's, it shows you that Rude is the real deal here. Like they're not just bringing him in for nothing. Like he's been here a month. He just beat Sting. He's got Paul Lee saying they're going to take over. He just won the title. So it's like it makes it seem like this is, it kind of legitimizes him, I guess I should say. But I'm with you guys. I'd probably go like 3. It's a tough thing to rate because it's hard. You can't really separate the match from the angle.
It's
involved,
it's a 4-minute match.
Right.
So without the angle, it wouldn't be, yeah, I agree.
Right. So I think I'm going to go the 3. That'll be kind of my split in the difference. And the other thing I like about this is, ending it with this is it kind of balances out the night as far as this whole storyline, because early you had Steamboat making this triumphant return. They win the titles, the crowd's all into it, but then just a little while later you have the hero Sting getting chopped down and beaten by the new heel, kind of the hot heel. So it kind of balances those things out where you see kind of both sides of it. So I really dug that moving forward, because you don't really have any one dominant. You have Rude, who just came in, he's taking over, but then you have Steamboat on the face side, who's like shoring up that side. So you can kind of see where all this is going. So I kind of like the balance of it.
All right. So Logan, final tally on that one.
That would be a 3.4.
So does that take over the number 1 in the 4 episodes?
Nah, the last match was
the tag match.
Oh, the tag match. That's right. So but would it take number 2?
Yeah, it would be number 2 because the other one was 3.31.
Wow.
I believe. So yeah.
All right. So pretty eventful clash tonight. Before we go to our awards, real quick, Matt, if I were to ask you, top 3 clash.
Ooh,
all right. Let's do a top 5. Would it be top 5?
Top 5. I'm closer with you. top 3, I'm not quite sure yet because there's a lot of great clashes, especially in the late 80s. And even like we're going to see some that there's one in particular that I think we may cover on this show that I may like more than this one, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's certainly in the conversation for top 5 for sure.
All right, Schiff.
Like Susan said, top 5, maybe top 4. Outside looking in on the top 3.
All right, Logan.
Yeah, I think it's definitely got to be up there as one of the best ones. It may not be the absolute best ones, or the best one, but it's definitely up there for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I don't have enough of a encyclopedic knowledge of the clashes to really make a judgment, but I do think, besides just the amazing tag match, I think it kind of sets itself apart with the full show angle, because even some of the 80s ones, they're stacked in ring, but they don't necessarily have the storyline stuff that this one has. So I think that gives it maybe a few bonus points.
All right, yeah, I'd have to really think through it, but I definitely think for me it'd probably be a top 5. So, all right, with that, we already did the match ratings. We know where it ended as far as the 2 really big matches. What was the worst match of the show, Logan?
Let me pull up my notes. The Chip Eaton.
Imagine that. All right, so Chip, once again, stellar performance. All right, so we're gonna have some things here to figure out. Most dangerous, Matt.
Why the hell did you come to me first? God damn it. It's got to be for me either Arn or Rude, I think, and I think because I've given it to Arn recently already, I'm going to give it to Rude just because he won a title and was involved in this whole storyline. And he's positioned right now as the biggest heel in the company. And so, yeah, I think for this episode, you got to give it to Rude, but it's real close between him and Arn for me.
All right, Schiff.
I'm going with Paulie. He orchestrated the attack on Sting and was the catalyst for winning the title with the phone shot.
All right, I'm also going with Paulie because he had 2 stellar promos, and he's the one that actually won Rude the match. So I am 100% going in on Paulie. Logan?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Paulie as well.
All right, Jake?
I'm going to go with Rude with Matt.
Okay. All right, least dangerous.
Bobby Eaton, easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful Bobby.
Logan?
Yeah, you got to give it to Bobby, I guess.
All right, Jake?
Yeah, I go with Bobby because you kind of see these other guys getting elevated, in these prime positions. Bobby's still slumming. I mean, it's not his fault, but he doesn't seem like he's the furthest from the angle right now, I feel. So
Yeah, I would probably have to go with Bobby too, just because Austin, if you think about it, Austin carried Pia News to a match way better than he should have been. You had the tag team title match and you had Rude. Bobby Eaton, just by default alone, probably had, and that's unfortunate because this is the second time in this pod's history Bobby Eaton has been the least dangerous. So, as much as we love him, Bobby, you need to step your game up a little.
And it's not even really his fault.
No, that's
it's the shit he's been given.
It's his
Right.
fault. The last time he won it was because of Mr. Hughes and Johnny B. Bad, and then the last time so in this time it's because of Chip. So it's really his opponents. So sorry, Bobby. R.I.P. Bobby Eaton. On a scale from 1 to 5, how would you view this episode as part of being a big part of the Dangerous Alliance story and where we're at now? I'll go to Matt.
I think you got to go at least 4 on this. And the only reason I wouldn't go higher is because I know there's bigger stuff coming. So this to me feels like the official kickoff to the Dangerous Alliance stuff. So with Rude winning, the storyline, the show long storyline, all this stuff, this to me, I could see being looked at as the official kickoff to what the Dangerous Alliance is going to be. So for that, I'm going to go 4 on it.
All right, I'm going to go 4.5 because between the tag match, the show long thing with Rude, the promo I just think it's all coming together at this point. So I'm going to go 4.5, not the full 5, but I'll go 4.5. Schiff, what did you think?
I'm gonna go 4 3/4. You guys did talk me out of a 5. I didn't want to shoot my wad too early, so I'm going 4 3/4. Because,
All right.
but this is damn near perfect. If Bobby Eaton would have done something besides fight Chip, it would have been a 5.
Shoot your load early. It's fantastic. Logan?
I'd go 4.5 with you, Sean. I think it's close to perfect, but not quite there. I think there's probably a few later episodes that'll probably hit that 5 mark.
Yep. Jake?
Yes, like Sting, we're going to save our full load for later. And 4.5.
All right, so 4.5. So definitely the episode that's ranked the highest since we started this pod, which makes sense because this is really Halloween Havoc was kind of the beginning. This is really the launch pad. If I were to say like, hey, where are we going next? So before we go, I want to give you a sneak peek of our next episode. I'm not going to run down exactly what we're going to go through, but I will tell you the dates. We're going to cover November 23rd through December 1st, and our spotlight feature match. Are you ready for this?
If it involves the Patriots, I'm quitting.
I think this one could be an all-timer. Larry Zbyszko versus Firebreaker Chip in a submit or surrender match.
All right. Well, it's been a good run. Jake,
Matt
Jake,
surrenders.
would you
Matt
like my
surrenders.
spot? Would you like my spot on this show, Jake? I'm willing to offer it to you.
Not my dog spot, my spot.
Yeah, listen, you know damn well you're going to watch that match, and we're going to have the best time ever just destroying it. So how do you not wanna watch
I've
that
got
match?
my dud warmed up as it is.
All right, so I won't talk about the other matches, but I will tell you it is also we will talk about the official launch of the Dangerous Alliance comes on our next episode, episode 5. So we will talk about that. So 4 episodes in, we haven't seen them form. Episode 5 is where we really hit the ground running and they formally get together. So Jake, thanks for joining us tonight. I love your perspective and loved having you on the show. I will let you go first on the plugs.
Yeah, since we're on the North-South connection for this pod, I will plug the Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast. About to cover maybe by the time this comes out, I will have already covered No Way Out. Had a few off weeks. It's a bit of a busy time of year, but I'm going to keep on churning through them. So check that out. And I look forward to keeping up with you guys and returning for some more of these big shows. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And maybe one day I'll get to be on a Ruthlessly Aggressive podcast again. I hope. I hope one day I get on there.
The door's open anytime.
All right. Thank you. Schiff?
Yeah, I can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shiflet, and just check out all the pods here on NoSo feed, the Pop feed, and the Place to Be Wrestling feed.
Okay, Matt?
You can find me right here on the No-So feed on the Extreme 3-Way Dance. I think by the time you are hearing this, the episode where we cover Barely Legal either is out or should be close to coming out. So definitely give that a listen. It's a massive night for ECW. It's their first pay-per-view. So give that a listen. And you can find me on the Twitter machine at msouza1991.
And Matt, I will listen to that pod because that is actually my official launch of really watching ECW for the first time.
There you go.
Yeah, that pay-per-view was the first time I'd ever watched ECW, so and that's where I became a fan. So I look forward to that one. Logan.
Highway to the Impact Zone, we're all on that pretty regularly. Scott will make guest appearances sometimes, but the other 4 of us are on there at least every other episode. By the time this comes out, we'll probably have just done Genesis 2005, or we may be at the show past that. I'm not quite sure, but we'll be somewhere in that range. But we'll be building towards almost getting to 2006, so we will have completed another year of TNA. So looking forward to seeing where that takes us.
All right, Schiff's not the only guest on there in recent days, but I hope I can make Genesis because I would like to watch that.
But you're supposed to be a regular cast member.
Yeah, I know. Well, I said lately, but I do hope I make Genesis because I would like to watch that show. So hopefully I can get on that. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at NWA Crock and Roll, podcast NWA Crock and Roll podcast. By the time you hear this, we should be knee deep into June '86 and maybe even getting ready to get into July '86, which is Bash season, which is always one of the best parts of Crockett. So we should be in that. And please also listen to my podcast, Before I Was a Mark, where I watched 3 random matches that I have never watched, predating my wrestling fandom in July of '86. Both of those can be found over on the Place to Be Nation Wrestling feed, along with YouTube Roulette that also features everybody on here and me when I decide to join. So With that, I would like to thank all of you for tonight. Really, really great episode. Maybe the best one we've done yet. And I love the fact that we're detailing the matches. We're talking about it. Like, it's just a really fun pod to do, and I've really enjoyed this one in the 4 episodes we've done. So, Jake, we will see you. I want to say we will see you. What's the next time we see Jake? Would it be Starrcade 91 for the pay-per-view?
I believe so.
All right, so Jake, we will see you for Battle Bowl Starrcade 81. So we can battle Matt on his opinions on that, but we'll love to have you on it. For everybody else, we will see you back in 2 weeks for episode number 5 to talk about the 5 stars, the Bisco and Chip match, and the official formation of the Dangerous Alliance. See you then, everybody.
Off any bum with a hollow heat seeker. Red Cross, the pint. She take blood by the liter. I'll never leave her. My vicious vixen on liquor. Send that the guard quicker. No matter your religion, you Muslim, Hebrew, or Christian. She indiscriminate with punishment. She send them hissing. My gun's my favorite, and she got permanent PMS. So she stay safe.
So I go to my heavy chariot, pop the trunk. Hey, tell it, I told it, but I ain't never scared. 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 I ain't never scared.
No, I ain't bad, just don't kiss no ass to take. And I'm a grown man, find you somebody to play with. If you don't like me when you see me, better not say I choke you out like Drake did that. You better tell these things with no record. I'm a bankhead, I take your cookie. Hey, so don't make it a me or you situation. I had your partner down, I see you visitation. Like, hope for the best, but I don't think he gon' make it. Not the way he was shivering and shaking on the pavement. I tell you what, if you make it, call him Grace, cause he amazing. Find out these verses wasn't the only thing blazing. And just when you thought that I was done, I was saving the best for last. Kiss my smile like Delary. They my focus, best you just let them be. Cause I do this grease head confessions and never see.
So I'm out